and time expanded and slowed down. So even though the light had to quote
Yep.
unquote travel further and took longer, it looked like it was the same distance and the same time because time itself slowed down. And then what was measuring the distance contracted. Okay, this is special relativity. He proposed this to explain away the evidence that showed that the Earth was stationary. Ironically, he ended up working his way to general relativity. And it, again, ironically, ends up conceding that a geocentric stationary Earth is a viable cosmological interpretation. That's what general relativity says.
Only
Now,
a frame
he
of
writes
reference.
about this in depth.
It's
Einstein
only a different
himself
frames
Yeah,
writes
of
but
about it.
reference.
Einstein didn't say all of that.
It's
That's
only a different
You,
frames.
you've
It's
never read
only
him.
the different frames of
I read.
reference.
I
The
had
sun
to
is one.
study
that you're talking
The
about.
sun is one. The
relativity,
sun is
and
one frame of
Einstein never said
reference.
all of that.
The sun is at rest in
My
one
God.
frame of reference, and in another frame of reference, the Earth is at rest. Not that
I've read the paper
complicated.
Witsit's talking
Okay,
about. It
I
doesn't
got-
say what he's saying.
See, this is all they can say. They can say it doesn't say what he's saying, but I gave very specifics. It objectively does
Yeah,
say what I said.
you're lying about what it says.
Really,
is
what
you-
paper are you talking about,
does-
Andy?
what
I'll
does
give you
it-
50
what does
bucks
it
to
say?
tell me what
that
paper
was
I'm talking about.
borderline
50
lying,
bucks, Andy.
Witsit.
Shut
You
up, Nate.
maybe
50 bucks,
misread
Andy.
it,
Don't save him.
but-
Don't save him. Andy, 50 bucks. What's up? What paper am I talking about?
I
You
don't
read the
have it
paper
off the
Witsit's
top of
talking
my head.
about? What
I read it
paper's
like
that?
6 months ago. I don't remember what it's called because I don't give a shit.
So easy. It's so easy to explain.
I
to you
read
guys.
it 6 months ago. I don't remember.
I
I
read-
don't remember everything I've read.
I wasn't talking about a paper, my guy. I was talking
You
about
are talking
multiple
about a
different
paper.
writings. Hey, so stop saying things that you don't
Okay,
understand.
so why can't they address my point? In that one reference frame, the Earth is at rest. The other reference frame, the sun is at rest. And those two reference frames are called the geocentric and heliocentric models. Can you guys
Nah,
address that? Maybe
not really.
Nate?
Who gives a shit?
Yeah, those. Yeah, I don't disagree with what you just said, Noah, but I don't know what that's got to do with relativity or the discussion around what
Well,
Einstein
because
said.
in a frame of reference that Earth is at rest, you wouldn't feel any force on you when you're standing on the Earth that's causing you to go around the sun. Therefore, not
That's not
measurable.
true.
Therefore, not measurable terrestrially.
That's not true. No one says that just because you're in a frame of reference where Earth is at rest, you can't feel forces. Or are you saying you can't
That's not
feel
what I
the
said.
force?
I didn't say not
Okay.
forces. I did not say forces. I said specifically a force, which is a force making us go around, but it's not a force. It's a pseudo force. Therefore, we can't feel it. So what I'm saying is, when the Earth is at,
Moderation.
yeah, where?
You can feel it.
Oh yeah, moderate.
You can
moderate
feel
me. Yeah,
it?
no, I'm interrupting people. Moderate me.
Let's let Noah finish.
He said they can feel it. Oh my
Yeah. Anyway, so how are you supposed to measure the Earth moving when in your frame of reference? You just admitted. I agree. The Earth is at rest.
So, I mean, there's still lots of ways you can determine whether Earth is moving or not, number one. Number two, the whole, what Witsit is trying to say that because of the Michelson Morley
It's not how
experiment,
relativity works, bro.
that is
So depending on if
relativity
you just
works. So the
if
idea
you just
behind
agreed that the Earth
relativity
is at rest in a
are the,
certain reference
come on,
frame,
You're
I
going to interrupt the whole time, or are you going to let it talk?
Yeah.
No interruptions.
so relativity speaks about two postulates, right? The relativity postulate and the speed of light postulate. That's what Einstein was working towards, number one. Number two, this whole so sorry, can you guys hear me? Someone was trying to call me.
This whole line?
Yeah, we hear you.
You're back.
All right, yeah. The whole idea that Einstein said that, relativity says that you can't determine whether or not Earth is moving or the sun is moving. Yes, Einstein wrote that, but he wrote that in a build-up to the general point he was trying to make. That's how you write things when you're writing a scientific paper, journal, or letter. You write both sides of the argument to show that you aren't being biased before you come to a general conclusion. So you also write about the facts that go against the idea you are generally trying to make, so that it's scientific, it's open, non-objective, and not subjective. But what he was talking about there was just the principle of relativity, which is Galilean and Newtonian relativity. Because the idea of relativity wasn't created by Einstein, it's been around 400 or 500 years before he was born. He just came up with a new type of relativity in where light has an absolute speed limit. And everything moves, space and time move in accordance with that speed limit. And he unified space and time and matter and energy. That's all he did. But before, with Newton and Galileo, they also had a principle of relativity. You know, Galileo had his thought experiment that
All right, 30
if
seconds.
you were
a lot,
in
man.
all of a ship,
I'm not. Yeah, 30
and you
seconds. I'm
couldn't.
not allowed to interrupt.
So just go ahead and
have a
finish,
back and
Nate, but
forth
try to keep it concise.
conversation,
And then Larry's
but
next,
you are not
and
going to keep
then
it
you
under
can go on.
30.
Nate, try to you're almost done. Try
All
to
right.
wrap it up, please, and then Larry,
Yeah,
and then Nate.
I'm about to wrap it up. With Galilean relativity, what he said is if you were in the hull of a ship and the ship was moving constantly, you couldn't look outside. There's no experiment you could perform to determine whether or not the ship is moving or is it stationary. That's the same principle Einstein was building on.
Are you done? All right, cool. So this conversation to illustrate the point at hand, the original point at hand being that a lot of times Globers don't understand their own stuff. So at one point in time, a majority of the people thought that the Earth was geocentric, right? And then they started talking about, relative motion. And it was explained to the geocentrists that all motion is relative. See, you can't tell for certain, that you're moving or the boat or whatever, the relative motion of the bus going down the road and the ball going back and forth in between the bus, right? And it's a different reference frames that the motion is relative to, whether it's relative to the bus or the motion relative to the person sitting at the bus stop who's being passed by the bus. So this is illustrating, like I said, that a lot of ballers don't even understand their own stuff, because when we say you can't tell which motion is at motion, whether it's the earth or the sun, right? They go, nuh-uh, but that's actually disagreeing with what the early ballers were saying back in the day when most people believed that it was geocentric. So they can't,
Larry,
just do that. Yeah,
Larry,
just
that
I'm almost done.
ignores the argument that we can make other measurements and look at other things to determine which is moving.
Name one.
Okay.
Name one.
How? Show
Name
me.
one. Name
Show
one.
me.
Every astronomical observation that we make,
Every single one. See, this goes to show your
God,
incompetence.
all of them
right?
combined show that the Earth is moving. Yes.
Yeah. So this is patently false. I have a stream called Geocentrism. I'm gonna break this down in depth.
I look at stars moving, therefore I'm moving. What
No,
the
see,
fuck kind of logic?
every astrophysicist will tell you that you should read, Andy, if you actually wanted to know what you were talking about instead of talking about. You should go read A Stubbornly Persistent Illusion by Stephen Hawking. Okay, from 2007, and then you should re-examine the statement you just said, and you will understand it is absurdly incorrect. All right. But it doesn't matter, dude. If you think that, like, I think we should just let them have it, just so everyone knows. Nate did this big, long recollection of it, kind of vaguely, right? And then we have rebuttals that are vague. What I found out, just take it or leave it. When you're talking about relativity to ballers, you have to be very specific, and you have to make them answer very specific questions, or you will never get anywhere. And that's why, like, for example, I explained what special relativity claims about Michelson Morley and why you cannot detect the motion of the Earth around the sun. And it's because time physically dilates, therefore slows down. So any attempt to measure it with a clock would be futile because time slows down. So it would look the same as if it were not moving.
But did Einstein actually write that, Witsit?
Yes.
I don't think. I would love to see that. Like, if you could tell me which paper that's in, I'll go read it. I'll go read the whole thing. I know that is an idea Henrik Lorentz had. That was Lorentz's explanation for why no ether drift was detected, because the apparatus is contracting in the direction of motion. Because he was trying his best to keep up the idea that there is an ether. Lorentz and a lot of physicists at the time were ether believers, because ether was, especially Maxwell's ether, was the dominant idea in physics at the time.
Yeah, Nate,
But I don't think Einstein
special relativity uses Lorentz contraction to
Yeah.
explain how it works.
Exactly. So the difference is that he didn't use Lorentz's original postulation because it involved the ether. So you're not wrong in that aspect. He said that the ether was the physical mechanism that basically compressed down on the mechanism, the measuring apparatus, and then that caused it to shrink. And he wasn't sure exactly how, because it would have to interact to all matter the same. And it didn't do this. Or it interacted to all matter the same, but the ether wouldn't do that. So he couldn't really fully explain it, but he just said, well, at least we have some type of mechanism. It's the ether physically doing it. Now, Einstein took that contraction, the math. The math is needed, though, no matter what, to explain why there's no difference detected. Okay? So he took the math, but Einstein never offered a mechanism. And that's why it's still debated to this day as to exactly what the cause, like what the actual mechanism is. Now, this is where Kosho jumps in and normally would say, no, we know what it is, right? And then I asked him to cite it, and he couldn't. And what he cited proved him wrong. And all attempts to prove the cause of contraction has failed miserably. And they've even come up with entirely different electrodynamic theories to try to explain it, but they never work. So, any physicist that knows anything about this, because I've talked to them, they say it's not even agreed upon on how to do the math. And it's definitely not agreed upon on what the causal mechanism is. And there's a huge dispute about how to even solve Einstein's field equations today in 2022. But all of that doesn't matter. The point is that if you understand what special relativity says, you wouldn't be arguing with me right now. This doesn't prove that the Earth is stationary or moving. It doesn't prove one way or the other. Okay, but the point that I'm making is you guys don't understand it, bro. And to be fair, Einstein ended up saying, after what mathematicians have done to relativity, I don't even understand it anymore. That's a quote from Einstein. So everyone knows it's not easy to understand it. I'm not claiming that I understand it completely, because even Einstein said it got so convoluted with math, he didn't understand it. But I do understand the principles of it, right? And for you to debate the principles of it is futile. It doesn't make sense. If the Earth's a ball that spins, just represent the actual position for what relativity claims it is. Don't change it. Don't rewrite history for the convenience of a Discord argument. And this is the whole point.
Yeah, that's lame.
You guys don't know as much about it as certain flat earthers. It's kind of ironic. So,
yeah, I mean, I agree with the whole general point that definitely they could be one or two flat earthers out there that understand certain topics better than Globers. I'm just disagreeing with the narrative you were painting as to what Einstein was trying to say relativity really is about.
well, I'll give you some resources, man. But
Yeah.
and this is something else that's well known if you research it, is Einstein would, like, again, he didn't fully understand it. Basically, the way Einstein describes what happened was he was like, this is
Oh,
what
but
question that I
happened.
asked a long time ago, before
Yeah, but
Larry and
what's
all of them
talking
got
about?
in.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, but he just started talking after talking back and forth with you multiple times. So I'm just
All right,
asking permission
cool.
to come in here and ask my question again,
Go ahead.
which is,
All right,
if
go for it.
Earth is in a frame of, if you're in a frame of reference where Earth is still, how are you measuring it to move? You're not. It's impossible. Thank you.
It's not impossible, though. Why is it impossible? No.
All right, then how'd you do it? How'd you make it possible?
No, but why is it impossible? I asked my question.
The frame of reference is that Earth is at rest, right? So in the frame of reference, Earth is still not moving.
Do you understand
How
what a
are you
frame of
going to
reference
measure?
is?
How are you going to measure it from that frame of reference and to show that it's moving? It's not possible by the fucking how frame of references work, bro.
Yeah, but do
Superforces
you
don't mean that
understand
you can't measure
what
them.
frame of references are, and that we get different frames of reference, and what a frame of reference is
I
used for?
literally just
It's
said
a
the
it's
frame
a
of reference where Earth is still.
Why would you use that
This is the
yeah,
frame of
thing,
but
dude.
Earth
You
reference
could
guys,
to
you
be
guys,
measure the
you,
Earth's
still.
you
movement?
guys
Earth
never,
could
you
be
guys never
still.
answered my question
Why
originally.
would you
Then you
use a
zoomed past
frame
it
of
to
reference
debate.
of stationary Earth to measure Earth movement? That doesn't make any sense.
Relativity says they're
You have to
interchangeable.
look at a different frame of reference.
Relativity
Have
says
to.
they're interchangeable, dude.
Hey, well,
That's one.
someone's actually answering my question.
You just
Yeah,
have to use
so
a different
all the
frame of
frame of
reference. It's not
reference
that hard.
is Noah. All the frame of references is a coordinate system, right? And you get different types of frames of
Exactly. We're
reference.
all standing
But
on
what
the
can
still
also
ground.
happen is you can transform or transfer yourself from one frame of reference to another. If you are in a frame of reference which is inertial, that doesn't mean that there aren't things within your frame of reference that you see that you can use to
So how did you
determine
guys
whether
prove? How
you
did you guys
are
prove the Earth
moving or
is
not.
moving from the Earth?
I'm
Because you're on
explaining.
the Earth, and the Earth is what
I'm
you're
explaining
measuring
how.
everything relative to, right? When you put the
Yeah, you
telescope
measure.
on the ground, the telescope doesn't move around and run fucking back and forth. And the Earth looks like it's still because you're in a frame of reference where the Earth is still. So you're sat there, the telescope, on the plot of land, nothing is moving around. It's a still frame of reference. How are you measuring the Earth to move?
Yeah, but these words still frame of reference. That doesn't mean anything. You know, you can be in a
Come on,
car
Nate.
that's moving, but if that car is moving at a constant
Change the
speed,
goalpost.
you are then in an inertial frame of reference.
Change
That's
the
the correct
goalpost.
wording.
Wait, is the
to use, not-
car spinning too? Is the
Oh,
car spinning
Come
too?
on. Why didn't you interrupt Noah, Travis? You had the need and
Because
compulsion
he likes to
interrupt me,
interrupt.
but not him.
Because you were the one talking.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well,
Cool.
this is no. I'm not
Anywho,
trying to drown you out, but to be
Oh,
fair,
come
I
on.
brought up the point first, and it's been 20, 30 minutes, and no one can address the point, and now they're saying it's not true, right? Like the idea that objects contract in length when they travel near the speed of light is a widely accepted consequence of Einstein's special relativity. But if you would observe such
it's
an
not a
object, it wouldn't
consequence
look
of
shorter at
Einstein's
all. But
relativity.
Why did you
oh
talk
my,
over him?
oh my God! But if you could observe such an
Well,
object,
because you talked over me, I thought we're just over talking people, right?
And why didn't you
Hey,
answer my
I'm,
question?
I'm doing what you did, Travis.
oh, you guys got
awesome!
it.
I'm glad.
You
I'm
guys
glad
got
I'm
it.
such a positive influence on you. That's awesome.
You are. You
I
really
just
are,
want to
Travis.
know. I just want to know what physical observation and measurement Lorenz actually had, or did he just have an idea? Right? Did he just think that this could be the cause?
Well, this is what happened.
get back to me on that.
They looked at Michelson Morley. They had a predicted value, and they didn't get it. And so they're like, okay, well, we know the Earth's moving around the sun. That means something else has to be happening. And then they came up with the theory.
Right? It's an idea. Right?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
like this is well known, dude. This is what's so
I get it.
frustrating,
They don't
right?
get
Because
it.
it's like, look here, I'll even read. According to this famous principle, a body moving relative to an observer will appear slightly shorter in the direction the body's traveling in. Specifically, its observed length will have been reduced by the Lorentz factor, 1 minus v squared divided by c squared raised to the half power, where v is the relative velocity of the moving object and c is the speed of light in a vacuum. This is a
Remind
well-known
me.
aspect of it, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, Einstein was touted as such a genius because he was able to allegedly pin down this incredibly elusive variable of the universe, which was that when you tried to detect the revolution of the Earth around the sun, it was the universe is apparently set up in such a way that it always deceives you to think the Earth is stationary. And because when something's moving, right, whenever the Earth is moving, when something is in motion through space-time, it's going to physically contract, and time is going to slow down. So any attempt to measure it and detect that difference is going to be futile. That's the reason Stephen Hawking's book is titled A Stubbornly Persistent Illusion. That's what the title means. A stubbornly persistent illusion. The whole book is about the fact that this is allegedly the case. This is 2007 Stephen Hawking. This is a basic understanding of relativity in the heliocentric model, right? So it's like you guys should just check that off your box, internalize it, accept it. If you think it's true, it's cool, but argue from the actual position. Don't make one up.
That's the Stephen Hawking's part. I don't know. I'm not going to comment on that. But the first part wasn't true. It wasn't Einstein that came up with Lorentz contraction. He just
No one said
modified
that.
Lorentz's original idea.
No one said that.
Right?
Okay, so
Yo,
Nate,
stop
Travis.
interrupting me, Travis. Shut the fuck up. All right? You were so
Yeah,
well
no,
behaved
who
during your
said-
debate. I don't know
who
why you being
said-
this way. I never said someone said it. I'm just speaking. All right?
you're talking to
Jesus
nobody
Christ, bro.
then. You're
I
talking
bet
to
you
nobody.
don't even understand what
Shut
it
up,
is we're
Travis, you
talking about.
fucking-
You shut up, Moyak. Don't tell me when to shut up.
Yeah, let's just try not to interrupt.
Anyway,
I
it was-
find Travis kind of funny, but I know you guys don't.
Retarded shit to me and interrupt me, Moyak. So don't fucking tout over.
Yeah,
on
let's just
Travis.
all reset, right? Like, here's the deal.
Whoa,
This is a
it's-
higher level
it's my turn.
conversation,
Come on.
and
I've
let's just
been
all
waiting
be
to call.
chill and not interrupt each other, please.
Yeah, I'm calm. You know, I'm not interrupting.
No, you
but,
weren't.
Travis.
You just cursed the
being
name of our
annoying.
Lord.
Travis, come on, man.
Yeah, because you
Jesus
are being a
fucking
bit
Christ,
annoying.
shut the
Travis.
fuck up.
You
Moyak,
just
I
cursed the
got
name
it,
of
my
our
guy.
Lord again.
I got it. All right, here's the deal.
I know,
Just
I'm
like
sorry, I
Jeremy
was
said
just
the other day,
picking,
I'm talking
comment.
right now, Moyak. I think I'm talking. Okay, this
Me
is just like Jeremy
research.
said. When one of the mods is coming into mod, we don't need sideline cheerleaders trying to also mod, and that goes for both sides. Okay, I'm telling Travis, please don't interrupt. He's kind of trolling, and it is kind of funny, honestly, but it's not what we do in the room. Okay, I don't need
So if
Moyak
you
to
have-
scream, "Shut the f up" while I'm doing it. And let's try to hold back on the weak words. Let's see if anyone can use vocabulary skills and not use so many weak words.
Ooh,
No
that's like-
screaming. I'm just going to do this all at one time, okay? Try not to raise your voice. I raised my voice earlier, but when people scream, it really just escalates, and then I'm wearing headphones. It's pretty disrespectful. So no screaming. Try not to cuss people out. Try not to do insults, and try not to interrupt. Everyone try to be concise and specific to the point, okay? And then maybe we can have a productive conversation for once.
Thanks, Witsit. That's amazing. So Nate.
Okay,
Nate,
but it was my turn, man. Come on, no.
Okay, real
Okay,
quick.
I want to be number 3 then.
How are you? Yeah, okay. So me, chirality, then fucking Travis.
Yeah.
So Nate, how did you prove the Earth was moving?
I didn't prove anything. I haven't proved anything in my life.
All right. How did the scientists that you believe in prove the Earth was moving?
Initially, when Copernicus came up with his model, it was through parallax. He showed that certain types of parallax that we see, that everyone sees, aren't possible if the Earth isn't moving.
You're talking about epicycles, dude. Here's
No,
the thing.
I'm not talking about epicycles, because even epicycles and Tycho Brahe's model weren't able to explain those type of parallax that we view. I just need to try. I don't remember what the exact observations were off the top of my head.
Yeah,
but Tycho Brahe's model with the epicycles and whatever were not able to explain any of this. It was only Copernicus's model, which was improved on by Kepler, that could explain these certain types of parallax for stars close enough to us.
So where did Kepler get his information?
Where did who?
Where did Kepler get his information?
From Copernicus, from someone that was around before him.
No, it wasn't Copernicus.
Tycho Brahe, the man he murdered.
Yeah, that's where he got his information from. So once he got the accurate information from the geocentrist, then he was able to patch some of the holes in Copernicus's model. So you guys couldn't even do it without a geocentrist and all those valid observations. But I'm still waiting on the stellar parallax because I don't believe it exists. The only parallax that does exist is the motion of the so-called planets.
There is also stellar parallax and aberrational parallax, and all sorts of parallaxes we see. So it was these specific parallaxes that were viewed by Copernicus and other astronomers during his time that could not be explained by the geocentric model. That's why everyone started drifting away from it and more to a heliocentric model, number one. Number two, Lorentz is the person that came up with length contraction as a hypothesis to explain why there was no detection of the ether. Because according to him, all objects, light and things made of matter, as they move through the ether, should contract along the direction in which they're moving in line with the ether current or ether wind.
All Einstein. How many times do we have to correct you guys on this?
I'm about to wrap it up. I'm literally about to wrap it up. Last sentence. All Einstein did was say, listen, we don't need an ether to explain length contraction. Length contraction can still be explained and is still possible and viable in the absence of an ether.
Okay, but this is the thing, right? This conversation requires like point blank, bang, 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 back and forth. Everyone gets to their misunderstanding, convoluted monologues. No one's gonna learn anything. Like the point is,
but you monologue as well, Witsit. Like it's not like you.
But I dropped the actual source, and then you're sitting here misrepresenting the source.
I dropped the source as well. I dropped
it right there. This is Einstein's writing right here, though. So I wonder whose source is right. So the point is
let me see his writings.
Yeah, you're right in a sense. You're right in a sense, but there's a couple things that need to be corrected. Okay, first of all, he didn't just.
This isn't German, man.
I know. I'm about to give you the translation. Okay, right. So this is the point, though. Yes, the Lorentz said there was an ether. Now he didn't say, oh, all things must contract because there's an ether, and that's what ether does. He looked at Michelson Morley, and they had to come up with an explanation. So then he came up with the idea of contraction, and he said the ether must be doing it. He had a couple problems, though. He couldn't explain why the ether would do it to all matter the same, right? So, and he couldn't really fully explain the mechanism other than it was the ether. Now, Einstein took that math. Again, this math was a response to the observation, not matching the prediction of motion, right? So then Einstein took the contraction, took the math and said, but we're going to do away with the ether. You don't need an ether. You're right in that sense, but he didn't go on to explain what it was. He literally didn't. In fact, in his own words, he said that he's not even going to go there. He said he doesn't know what it is. He doesn't know
Let me
the
ask you a question
specifics
just real quick,
of the mechanism.
Austin, because I wanted to say something, but I'm just going to follow up since you just said that. Are you telling me that Lorentz created a mathematical expression for something he didn't measure?
Yeah, it was an explanation to try and save
Okay, I was
Earth
talking
moving
to
an ether.
Austin. Nate, talking to
my
Austin.
bad.
Repeat it.
I corrected
Sorry, my
myself.
wife walked in.
Okay. I said, based on what you just said, are you telling me that Lorentz created a mathematical expression for something he didn't even observe?
Yeah, well, they observed the yeah. Of course, no one observed like ether contracting something. They observed that it didn't
Well, I don't even
show a
care about
difference.
that. I don't even care about that. I'm talking about show me the measurement of the mechanism that you say is contracting. You have to have a before length, an after length, or
Right.
whatever, right? My point is, guys, seem to be not listening. Everyone out here who's listening to this, if you're okay with this after this, I can't say.
Just so you know, so
he
the
had no physical observation or measurement, and yet he created a mathematical expression for an idea.
Okay, Travis, that's what the whole thing is claiming, right? The whole thing is claiming that you could never do what you're asking for. So it's just ad hoc,
That's even worse.
unfalsifiable.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's true, but just like that's how it should make sure everyone understands, right? Like the idea is that it's moving through more space. But when you try, so it's as simple as I can put it, there's more space. It's moving through more space. But so when you try to measure it, the apparatus contracts because of the motion. So you're not going to be able to tell that it was more space. It's going to look like it was the same.
It sounds a lot like the quantum mechanics. Like if you're not looking at a particle, it's not. Then you don't look at. Then you look at it. Then you don't look at it. Now you look at it. Don't look at it.
I'm going to go ahead and apologize. I'm going to drop the translation for you, Nate, but it's kind of long, right? It's going to take up a lot of the chapter.
No, go for it. Yeah, go for it, man. Yeah. So while you, okay, I'll read it in a bit. I just want to respond to everything you said. So what I said is correct. Lorentz thought that the ether could make everything contract, including matter and electromagnetic phenomena. Because I just posted his Lorentz ether theory, which he was a believer in the ether. A lot of these guys were, because everyone agreed with Maxwell's equations and the idea that light propagates through this medium, right? But with Lorentz, the way he tried to explain it was that when an object is moving, with the ether current, the intermolecular forces are also affected, not just electrostatic forces. So he did believe in this idea. He had the math and the model to back it up. All that was lacking was the observed phenomena. Then Einstein just came in and said, listen, this model works perfectly fine even without an ether, which no one has detected. So
you guys are perfectly okay.
I want to translate that. Can I translate that if you don't mind?
Please do.
So,
go ahead, Larry.
So basically, he had everything but the first step of the scientific method, which is probably something you need to call it science. That's why we say that all you guys are talking about is math magics, religiosophy wrapped in a theory tale. Thanks.
So this is the point. When you keep saying that he just came in and said, we don't even need the ether to explain it, you're giving this like illusory depiction that he explained an alternative, but he didn't. So yeah, he didn't absorb the ether because he could tell that ether as a mechanical background with physical properties where motion can be applied to it would render relativity useless or null and void. So he couldn't integrate the ether, right? So he was saying, well, we're going to take the contraction without the ether. Now he point blank explains he doesn't know why it happens. He doesn't know why. He doesn't actually know the real mechanism. He never offered a mechanism. So it's a little bit misleading to say he just came in and corrected him. We don't need an ether for this because, well, yeah, he didn't like explain why. He didn't say, we don't need an ether for this. Look, it can work like this. No, he said, we don't know why. And then to this day, it's not known.
No, that's not true. He explained why. Because the initial idea was light should move at different speeds depending on whether or not it's moving with or against the ether current. That's why they use an interferometer to perform the Michelson Morley experiment, because the phase transition of light, the speed of light, should change depending on what direction the light is propagating as Earth moves through this luminiferous ether. But because no matter what direction the light was moving in, the speed of light calculated was almost always the same, Einstein came up with his speed of light postulate, which is the speed of light is the same regardless of the observer in all reference frames. And if that is the case, if the speed of light is the same no matter what direction it's moving in, there's no need for an ether. That's how Einstein came to that conclusion.
Dude, that is not address. Okay, let's see if you understand this, right? You understand that it's claiming that the measuring apparatus physically shrank. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay, now he's saying he doesn't know the physical mechanism that causes the matter to shrink.
He does. Einstein explained it pretty well.
Okay, I just dropped his writing on the time slowing down and his writing on the contraction. Okay?
I just have a real quick question.
Let's pretend you got to post the translations, but I'm still reading the first.
All you have to do is save the picture, go to Google, click the image, put the picture in there, and press the translate button.
Okay, I just have a question. Let's pretend like this is middle school, right? So my question is, the contraption or the mechanism that allegedly contracted, how fast was it made to move?
What do you mean?
Well, it has to be moving in order to contract, correct?
Well, the idea is that it's moving like just under 20 miles a second around the sun.
That's the same as you and me, though, right?
Yes.
So we're all like contracting right now, right?
We're all contracting.
Yes, that's what they say. But light is what gives you the ability to detect the difference, right?
Yeah,
that's the idea.
Yeah, but
you guys believe this?
That is
bullshit. There's no way around it.
Yeah, that is the general idea, right? So Einstein and Lorentz all agreed length contraction happens. What they disagreed on was what causes it to happen. Lorentz said it's us moving through the ether. Einstein said no, it's because the speed of light is constant, and anything moving slower than the speed of light is affected by this.
See, the thing is, it's not that we don't understand, right? I'm going to say it again. Don't misunderstand critical evaluation for incredulity, right? If I don't believe you, show me. If you can't show me, I'm not going to believe you.
Oh, what do you want me to show you? I mean, I can show you some mathematics, or do you want me to show you something moving so fast it actually
He was to see a 12-inch stick contracted to an 11-inch.
No, the whole point is that you can't do that. But Left Lane, like, do you not agree that it's kind of a crazy concept, because it's so weird? You guys act like it makes perfect sense, and Einstein said it boggled his mind for years. This is why I said that diligent research would really be beneficial to you guys, so that you would really know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but,
so you wouldn't come in here and make
when
yourself look kind of ridiculous when you're like, no, it makes perfect sense. Einstein said it didn't make sense. He didn't understand it. He didn't offer a mechanism. He didn't understand the physical mechanism that did it. Okay? That's what he said. He said it boggles his mind, and that it's crazy because in fact, he said this is what sparked his entire intellectual motivation to come up with special relativity in the first place. Because it was such a boggling thing. A mind-boggling thing.
Witsit, just let me mention as well, in the calculation, they could only use the number 1. They couldn't go and add any other matter to the equation. They only had to use 1. So each time they made the calculation, it could be for only one reference point at one given time. And that is also not reality now, is it?